Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Today we'll just have a chat about our own thoughts and practices about compassionate learning and teaching. So today I'm Sakinah here. We have Chantelle joining us and Jason also joining us in this conversation. Um, I know it's been a little bit strange and really hard the past few weeks. So I thought today we'll just get together and have a chat about what we've been doing in our learning and teaching practices during this time. Who'd like to go first?
Chantelle?
Sure, I can kick off. One of the things that I've seen is just a general consideration for, I guess, the differing workloads and the change that people have had to cope with and adjust to. And I think there's been a real sense of awareness that A, people handle that differently, and B, that there is no right or wrong way to handle these kinds of situations. And I think that's been a really exemplary, form of compassionate processes across the university, which is really, I found that really impressive.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear, Chantelle. And if we go back to that definition of what compassion is, let's base it on what Paul Gilbert says. It's really about the sensitivity to the suffering of the self and others, and with that commitment to alleviate and prevent that suffering. And so that becomes really something, I think, even whether or not we are conscious of it, it's probably something at the forefront of a lot of our minds in terms of how we might help support others in particular, and hopefully of the self as well, as we are also living through similar challenges. Jason, I've also heard some really awesome things about what you've been doing in your course as well, that are really good examples of compassionate approaches to learning and teaching. Can you share with us some of that?
Sure. I mean, I have lots of thoughts. First, just going back to Chantelle's point about how there's no right and wrong. I think that's a really important thing because, you know, right now there's not a lot of feedback loops going on, and we're often sort of trying to deal with quite an unexpected situation that none of us have ever had to deal with before. And so I think it's important on all levels, both with our students, ourselves, our lives, to remember that there's not necessarily a right and wrong way of doing this. Just about my courses, I've made a couple observations. I mean, I normally do a lot of engagement activities. I normally try to be as compassionate as I can. But one thing that kind of struck me this past week was that, a lot of the students around them is fear, around them is concern, around them are news stories of all sorts of things that might or might not happen. And I'm finding what I'm doing is I'm trying to emphasize my courses as being a place where they can be proud. Now, that's sort of a small thing, but it can be really powerful, which is to say that I want them to sort of produce something, however small, that they're happy about, that they want to show someone else. I'm de-emphasizing marks and grades at this point, and I'm saying, I just want you to make something you're proud of. I want you to have this moment where you think, gosh, I accomplished this thing. And I think that really helps them. It gives them something to attach to for the week. They can remember I was able to solve that particular problem. And that can be a really, really powerful thing for them. So I've been emphasizing that. Another thing I've been emphasizing to them, and this might be a little bit unique to sort of more art courses and specifically digital art courses, but a lot of the things we deal with in my courses is about constraint. It's about this idea that, there's always going to be challenges normally outside of a pandemic, whether it's technological, software, hardware, those kinds of things. And so to my students, I'm saying, look, you're all going to have different challenges. And my goal as a teacher to say, how can we work with those? And I'll give you one silly example. I had a student who was going to be doing a thing called rear projection, which is to take and project onto a surface and have it show on the other side. And the student figured out that shower curtains will work just as well as the professional screens. And so they used what was in their house, and they were able to solve this thing, and they were so proud of it. You know, and they have family members who are sick, and you could sense they were just beaming about telling other people about this big success. And so for me, I find that, you know, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not sure how to help them in terms of their finances or their health, but I can help them to have a moment of pride. And that's a really important thing.
Absolutely. That's really, really wonderful to hear. And I agree with you. Keeping the course as the safe space and having some sense of security is so important. And I think for us, we can really play quite a big role in that through our courses. And also, given the fact that everyone is so extremely stressed with so many things, dealing with uncertainty, you know, beyond what we are ever accustomed to, it's really great to, you know, have those kind of strategies in your courses to help them feel like they're still efficacious, you know, they're still learning. And that's so important for the well-being as well as their capacity to learn as well in the course, you know. So that's so great to hear. I love hearing about really creative ideas. You know, it's one of those things where you just surprise yourself. Amidst challenges, often you think, no, I totally won't be able to do that. You know, there's no way I can do anything in this moment. And then people surprise you. And I think really banking on that and believing in people right now whilst providing the support so that they are able to achieve that potential is a really human way to learn and teaching. It's really nice. Thank you for sharing those.
Well, just going to make a comment about your word human.
Yeah.
And this is another thing we've been trying to emphasize in my courses, but just generally with my students. A lot of what we're hearing are numbers. You know, even our vice chancellor recently came out with a big email talking about this is how much money universities lose. This is how many people are sick. Everything is this abstract idea of numbers. And so a lot of times we've been trying to emphasize humanizing things. You know, I want to hear their stories. I want them to tell their stories. I want them to tell their stories to other people. I want them to listen to other people's stories. Because I think at the end of the day, it's going to be the humanizing aspects, the narrative aspects that are going to be more powerful than just strictly abstract numbers.
Absolutely, I agree. I've been trying to do that, more of that in my course as well. So in trying to further humanize my connection and communication with my students. And for me, I'll say, yes, I do have social anxiety, right? And so it's kind of like really hard to do that online in particular. You know, it feels kind of okay when you're kind of more comfortable with the set of people you're with. And so what I've been trying to do is have more regular kind of like this informal videos with my co-teachers and just, you know, posting that out to my students, using more GIFs as well. Getting used to doing that a bit more and being more comfortable. I guess not comfortable, but it's almost like for me, I have to be brave in doing that. But I'm seeing how it's really important in keeping that human element in communicating with students in our courses, because, you know, it's really trying to build that community as well, so they know we are human on the other side too, you know, so it's not like with this robot kind of just imparting some information back to them.
Yep.
But we're all in this together, so that's, yeah.
No, I agree.
Well, thank you both so much for your time and sharing your thoughts and experiences with us today. Really appreciate it. I hope you have a very good rest of the day.
Thank you. It was lovely chatting.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.